Entitled woman gets fired, takes her toys, and goes home. I was asked by a commenter for the backstory about how the entitled woman who was my dad's distant relative got fired. I've had to change a few things so that no one or the organization involved are readily identifiable, but the events are what actually happened. This Karen is just a nasty person to a lot of people and has a hit list of enemies. She actually calls it that, if that gives you any clue to her degree of Karen-ness. I'll refer to her here as EW. She is a folk dance teacher, and has been a folk dance teacher since before I, 44F, was born. She is in her early to mid-70s now and is still teaching. More about that later on in this post. For about half of her career, she was teaching at the cultural organization where I work now. I wasn't going there then except for a couple events a year, so I really had no contact with her at all when I was growing up. Besides, she and my dad hate each other for some disagreement that happened over 50 years ago, and neither one of them really remember clearly, because it was so long ago. I'll just call the organization work. EW became the person in charge of the folk dance group at work and had other teachers working under her. They taught kids of all ages. Around 25 years ago, she also was voted onto the scholarship committee. After a couple years, the board of directors at work discovered that she was playing a shell game with the scholarship money and with the money given to the folk dance group. She and an entitled man on the board got into a screaming match during a meeting and she was kicked out. She took all her costumes and much of the music CDs and tapes because she and the kids, her students, worked so hard to earn that and it had to stay with the group. It should have stayed with the group at work, because the group was still going to be continuing at work, but just under a new person in charge. To this day, EW has still not given the costumes and music back. Most of her dancers at work became her students again when she set up a new folk dance group with the express purpose of running the group at work into the ground. The group at work continued with a student as the person in charge, helpful adults at work, and some donated costumes. About a year and a half after EW left, work hired me as the new person in charge and I've been in that position ever since. Right now with COVID, we haven't been meeting, of course, but we will start up again once we can. At the time I was hired, my boss didn't realize how EW and I were connected, even though most of the others at work did because my dad is involved with cultural events for another related organization. They still voted to hire me, knowing that EW would probably try to get me fired. I only agreed after telling my boss how EW and I were connected and getting his reassurances that he would tell the rest of the members that they were to take any complaints of me directly to him. He has mostly followed through on that promise, a lot better than I initially thought he would. EW's dance group is still around, and my boss, work, and I have made it very clear that we are not competing with them for territory and have a different focus. She is all about the performance, even to the point of having only the very best of her dancers perform, and neglects some of the cultural aspects of folk dancing. The group at work teaches the culture and language aspects of the dances, and our performances always include some audience participation dances. The families who want to have their kids in a top performance group go to her, and the ones who want to have more of the cultural aspects come to work.